Let's get started. Number 10, you can't memorize anything. Ancient Greek education was all memorization. No textbooks, no notebooks, no printing press. You had to memorize everything. Students memorized entire books of Homer, thousands of lines of poetry, word for word. The Iliad alone is over 15,000 lines. Students were expected to recite huge chunks of it perfectly. You grew up with Google. You don't memorize phone numbers. You don't memorize facts. Why would you? Everything is searchable. Your brain has been trained to remember where information is stored, not the information itself. Ancient Greek teachers would ask you to recite a passage and you'd stand there with nothing. They'd assume you were either lazy or stupid. You're neither. Your brain just developed differently because it didn't need to work that way. Number 9, you can't sing. Greek education was heavily musical. Students learned to play the lyre and sing poetry. Music wasn't entertainment, it was core curriculum. They believed music shaped your soul and built character. A properly educated Greek man could pick up a lyre at a dinner party and perform. You can barely clap on rhythm. You've never touched a stringed instrument that didn't plug into an amplifier. When they handed you a lyre and asked you to accompany yourself while singing Homer, you'd produce sounds that made people leave the room. Musical incompetence wasn't just embarrassing. It was evidence of a badly formed soul. They genuinely worry about what was wrong with you spiritually. Number 8, you're out of shape. Greek schools included serious athletics, not gym class where you walk around the track. Actual athletic training, running, wrestling, javelin, discus, every day, for hours. The gymnasium was as important as the classroom, and you did it all naked. That's what gymnasium means, naked exercise place. You'd show up with your modern body that sits at desks and stares at screens all day. You can't run a mile without stopping. You've never wrestled anyone. You throw like someone who has never thrown anything. Greek students would outperform you embarrassingly in every physical activity. And they'd do it while you're standing there naked and completely humiliated. Physical weakness was considered a character flaw. You wouldn't just fail athletics. You'd lose all social respect. Number 7. You can't argue properly. Greeks invented formal debate and rhetoric. Students learned structured argumentation. They could argue any position on any topic using proper logical forms. They studied fallacies and learned to identify weak reasoning. You argue by stating your opinion louder and then getting frustrated. Modern arguments are emotional. Greek arguments were technical. They'd give you a position to defend and you'd say, "I just feel like," and they'd cut you off. Feelings aren't arguments. Where's your logos? Where's your ethos? Where's your pathos deployed strategically? You don't know what any of those words mean in their original context. You'd lose every debate to 12-year-olds who'd been training since they could talk. Number 6, you're wearing pants. Greeks didn't wear pants. Pants were for barbarians. Persians wore pants. Scythians wore pants. Civilized Greeks wore tunics and robes. You'd show up in jeans and immediately mark yourself as an outsider, a barbarian. The word barbarian literally means someone who doesn't speak Greek. Their language sounds like bar to civilized ears. You don't speak Greek, you're wearing pants, you're double barbarian. Before you even opened your mouth to fail your first recitation, everyone would already know something was deeply wrong with you. You dressed yourself like a Persian horse archer and walked into an Athenian school expecting to fit in. Number 5, you don't know the gods. Greek education assumed complete familiarity with mythology. Every lesson referenced the gods. Every text mentioned them. Every moral example came from divine stories. You know Zeus throws lightning. Maybe you know Athena is wise. After that, you're guessing. Greeks knew hundreds of gods, their relationships, their stories, their epithets, their sacred places, their festivals. They knew which god to invoke for which situation. They knew the difference between Aphrodite Urania and Aphrodite Pandemos. You don't even know there were different Aphrodites. When teachers referenced myths to make points, you'd miss every single one. It would be like trying to follow a conversation where everyone keeps quoting movies you've never seen. Except, those movies are the foundation of their entire civilization. Number 4, you can't write properly. You know the Greek alphabet sort of. Alpha, beta, gamma. But ancient Greek writing had no spaces between words, no punctuation, no lowercase letters. It was all capitals running together in continuous streams. Imagine reading an entire book, written like this. They could do it fluently. You'd struggle with a single sentence, and writing was even harder. They wrote on wax tablets with styluses, no erasers except heating the wax and smoothing it over. You'd carve your letters too deep or too shallow. Your handwriting would be illegible, and you'd be writing right to left sometimes because Greek inscription direction wasn't fully standardized. You'd hand in work that looked like a child scratching. Number 3, you have no patron. Greek education wasn't public school. It was private and expensive. You needed a wealthy family or a patron to pay for your education. You'd show up with no money, no family connections, no one to sponsor you. Who's paying for this? Who's your father? What family are you from? You're from nowhere they've heard of. Your family has no reputation. You have no letters of introduction. Even if you could somehow perform well, you don't belong to the social networks that Greek education served. Schools trained future citizens and leaders. They trained boys from good families. You're not from any family they recognize. Why would they waste education on you? Number 2, you have the wrong values. Greek education taught specific virtues: excellence in competition, honor, glory, the desire to be remembered forever. They wanted to create men who would rather die gloriously than live in obscurity. Your values are different. You believe in work-life balance. You think participation matters more than winning. You've been taught that everyone is special. Greeks would find this pathetic. They celebrated winners and forgot losers. They believed some people were simply better than others, and that was fine. Your modern egalitarian instincts would read as weakness. When they asked what you wanted to achieve, and you said something about being happy and comfortable, they'd wonder why you bothered existing. Happiness was a side effect of excellence, not a goal. Number 1, you're probably not allowed in. Greek schools were for free male citizens, not women, not slaves, not foreigners. If you're a woman, you're immediately excluded from formal education. You'd be trained in household management at home if you were lucky. If you're not ethnically Greek, you're a foreigner, and formal education isn't for you. Even if you're male and free, you might be from the wrong class. Sparta educated boys differently, through brutal military training that would probably kill you in the first week. Athens was more academic, but still exclusive. The democratic everyone gets educated model is incredibly recent. For most of human history, education was for the elite few. You probably wouldn't fail Greek school. You'd never be allowed through the door in the first place. Ancient Greek education produced philosophers, generals, and statesmen who shaped Western civilization. It also excluded almost everyone and focused on things we no longer value. You'd fail not because you're dumb. You'd fail because you were raised in a completely different world, with different skills, different values, and different assumptions about what education means. Greek students would fail just as badly in your schools. They'd have no idea how to use a computer, work in groups, or write a 5-paragraph essay about their feelings. Education reflects its society. You were built for yours. They were built for theirs. Nobody's wrong. Everyone's just out of place. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.